Live life by choice, not requirement. There's only one way to get there from here. Be the resource your community needs. Welcome to the Relax, I Got This podcast and start crushing it with your tribe with host Robin McCoy. Here's your host.
Hi, I'm Robin McCoy, Texas Realtor and Tribe Builder. Welcome to Relax, I Got This, Crushing It with Your Tribe, where we share real talk about building business and life relationships. As a Texas Realtor, I am in the unique position to meet and know so many different people in a wide range of industries. These people are my tribe, and I leverage them not only to help my business, but to help theirs as well. And I am here with part 2 of If You Don't Have a Will, the state of Texas has one for you, with Lorie Burch of Burch Law. So
excellent. We got it out of the way early on this time.
Yes, we did. So if you didn't hear part 1, you'll want to go back and listen to that, because we're going to pick up where we left off on the reasons why you need estate planning, why you need wills or trusts. There's powers of attorney. There are probate. There are people that believe if you have a will, you don't have to go to probate, which isn't true.
Not true.
We've talked about all the things that people think they know that they don't. So let's talk a little bit about that. So, the medical powers of attorney after you're 18, that's kind of where we left off. That,
right.
We bring college kids. They didn't do that when I went to college. Probably nobody even thought about it then, but now I know.
I don't think they had HIPAA laws when you were in college.
You're probably absolutely right. You are probably absolutely right. So now, if you're going off to college, your parents should be taking you into Lorie's office or another qualified attorney. Lorie's office.
Right. There is more than one.
to make sure all these documents are signed. So if something happens to you while you are down in Austin, that your parents still have information about what's going on with you.
Yeah, we've run into these issues where I had one instance where a daughter was in school and had to be rushed for an emergency appendectomy. And for those of you in the medical field or have touched the medical field, everything's coded. Well, they entered the wrong code and it was rejected by the mom's insurance. So mom was talking to her own insurance company and they would not talk to her because her daughter was 19 years old and there was no sort of discretion. Now, that wasn't an emergency situation. That was more just a convenience situation. We also have plenty of those instances where, someone's being rushed to the hospital or under medical care and the parents can't find out anything. They can't provide them any information because the minute you turn 18, nobody, not your parent, not your spouse either. If you don't believe that, Google Terry Schiavo in Florida so that you can remind yourself of why married couples don't have automatic rights to make decisions for one another. Once you turn 18, there's nobody besides these type of documents where you can designate who you want to make decisions for you or to even receive information.
So you are very involved in the LGBT community. You mentioned that.
Correct.
I had a friend who got suddenly very ill. He and his partner had been together for decades. Both sides of the family, all were, we love everybody. But as soon as my friend became ill, his partner was excluded from everything.
Oh, sure.
My friend's parents excluded him from everything, didn't tell him anything, and in fact, when my friend passed, they grabbed him up and took him home to West Texas.
Yeah.
And left his partner out of everything. So these are the things that people don't think about because everybody thinks everybody loves everybody. But when it comes to these issues, often the truth comes out.
And that can happen even the most ideal situations. I mean, I've had people fight over cars. I mean, granted, it was a Cadillac, but, still, it's just a car. And even ashes, fighting over ashes. And certainly before we had marriage equality, it was even more of an issue than now, because this was the only thing you can rely on because you were treated as strangers in the eyes of the law. Marriage equality was just that. It made it equal so that at least you had some footing, but it's still just as easy for family to come in and try and take away rights from your legal spouse. And I mean, regardless of whether it's a LGBT couple or, a straight couple, it can still happen. It just happens to be there's a lot more still animus societally towards that. And then, the interesting thing is with families and parents or kids, when it comes to designating guardians and who can take care of them. And that becomes certainly really ugly, because if you don't have a will, the state of Texas is going to determine who can be your legal guardian. And even if judges know who they think you would want, they're restricted. This is statutory. There is not discretion. There are some areas of the law where judges have discretion. They don't in this regard. It is statutory that who they can select and pick. And it goes down a list of blood relatives. It's not going to be, we have plenty of people that want to name their best friends to be guardians of their kids because they don't trust their family. They've, fallen off the deep end in these, different times that we're living in. And so all of this is about making a plan and taking control of what can happen. And I'm passionate about this anyway, but I'm certainly passionate about families that have young kids, because they are counting on you to take care of them, whether you are here or not. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have something properly in place, not just something in place, because online forms are worse than nothing, not better than nothing, worse than nothing, then you're leaving them in limbo during the worst possible time, because the only reason we're talking about this is they've lost you. And you've decided that just is not enough for you as a parent. I really think it's a responsibility for every parent to have something like this in place, because you might as well just go home to your kids and say, yeah, I now learned what happens, but I still don't care enough to do anything about it.
I'm not doing it yet. Well, I have another person in my life who has 2 young children, and I was asking him about this. And he said, well, my wife and I can't come to terms as to who will get the kids, because, my brother or her sister or whatever. And I was like, and then after talking with you about this, that, at least get a will to the point where you're not both dying together. Right. Let's get it that far. But if you were to die together, it's not automatically your kids are going to be in CPS.
Yeah, no, they really
They're
are.
Going
They're
into CPS immediately. Yeah. And it could be for 24 hours or 3 weeks or longer. And a judge is going to decide.
That's the cold, hard truth of it. And it's not that I'm insensitive to the difficulty of parents making these decisions. I'm a parent myself. We rethink guardians constantly. We've probably changed them out 3 different times in the last 3 years. We do. But the point is, and I hate this expression, but it is what it is. It's the lesser of 2 evils, because if you decide to not make any decision or come to some sort of compromise, then I guess you're just fine with the judge making that decision.
And I bet if you ask anybody walking down the street that question, they'd say, of course I'm not.
Right. Well, I know how much particularly Texans love the government to make decisions for them.
So, let's just go there.
Fact of the matter is the majority of Texans should have this, and yet the majority of Texans don't have anything.
Unbelievable. Okay, we're going to take a break. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back with Lorie Burch of Burch Law on Relax, I Got This, Crushing with Your Tribe on the OBBM Network.
Be the leader you know you can be. Build your professional network and access education that takes you where you want to go. We are women of all ages and backgrounds. You deserve national recognition and opportunities to build relationships with people you want to work and grow with. Hit the ground running with the Charisma chapter of the American Business Women's Association. Meetings each month from 6 to 8:30 p.m. on the 4th Tuesday in Farmers Branch, Texas, and online. Come with us. Experience ABWA for yourself. Go to charisma.abwa.org to learn more.
Everybody loves music, but not everybody knows what it can do for you. I'm sure you've noticed issues like anxiety, depression, and addiction are up, At Chester Squared Music Therapy Services, we understand. We have a seasoned staff with almost 30 years of experience dealing with clients with Alzheimer's, PTSD, addiction recovery, pervasive developmental disorders, post-accident rehab, and head trauma. We have experience in the local school district special ed departments, psychiatric hospitals, rehab facilities, medical and counseling centers. For those who are struggling to break free of the 9-to-5 rut, I've developed my groundbreaking Power of a Positive playlist system, taught in local psychiatric and rehab facilities successfully for years, and it's helped thousands of people. If, like many people, you struggle with boundaries, inner voices, relationships, and practical spirituality, anxiety, and panic attacks, improve your life through the power of music therapy. I'm a published author of 2 books and available to speak at conferences, seminars, and corporate events. Go to ivorchester.com today. That's IVOR Chester.com. Go now.
Local business? Don't get run over like a freight train. What if there were television and podcast studios right in your own backyard? Call 214-714-0495. OBBM Network Studios at Grace Point Media are DFW's full-service media solution for busy business owners who want to support their local community. Want your own show? We'll put it together and promote it for you. Want to advertise to businesses? With over 20 platforms, OBBM Network gets you in front of DFW's business community in powerful and creative new ways. Associate in higher profile circles. Take advantage of guest spots on business TV or podcasts. Join us at 1860 Crown Road, Suite 1410 in Farmers Branch, Texas for an episode, or maybe 2. In fact, make OBBM the place you meet for valuable one-on-ones. Profitable business, free America. Make media work for you, DFW. Call 214-714-0495 and check out the calendar on offbeatbusiness.com for events you don't want to miss. What was that number? 214-714-0495.
Welcome back to Relax, I Got This, Crushing with Your Tribe, where we share real talk about building business and life relationships. And we're with Lorie Burch, a state attorney here in the DFW area, and we are talking about real life situations here. If not, real life relationships about how you are going to, what legacy are you going to leave for your family on unfortunately, the day you don't get to come home.
That's right. It's getting real up in here.
Yeah. Well, and bad decisions are made in urgency, and when you're in a situation that is, now it's urgent, now you don't know what's going on, bad decisions are made. And if you don't have the information that you need, then worse decisions are made.
Well, I think one thing people miss is that you just draft a will and it's just something you do real quickly. I mean, that's one of the things that I think is so misleading about these online forms is they'll say, get a will in 15 minutes. And it's like, no, you fill out a questionnaire and get some generic document. These things have to be signed, and they have to be signed properly with qualified witnesses and notarized. And so when we get these calls, as we do, dad's just been rushed to or has just been put in hospice care. He has days to live. He's barely cognizant. Can we get a will done? The first thing that we talk about is, how are we going to get it signed? Because I'm not going to take somebody's money and draft a will knowing full well it's not going to work. So I know it's not super interesting when it comes to this, but it really is a huge component of it. And it's one of the biggest reasons why people need to do this while they still have their faculties. They aren't staring, down at death or at death's door, because all of the hoops that we've had to jump through over the years of going to hospice care, and, COVID shut a lot of this down. We can't, and to some degree, I'm not willing to have any of my people go into some of these assisted living facilities or hospitals, the way we used to do it a few years ago. So, this is a really big deal. It's not so simple. And even during the height of COVID, which I hope we're not in anymore, but during the height of COVID, we had it where people couldn't get it signed because they wouldn't allow enough people in the room to witness documents. Wow. And I know, it's like crazy, but no, this isn't something you just get done in a snap, is what I'm saying. Yeah. Like get it done ahead of time. And, for most people, they maybe have to update it once or twice throughout their whole lives. You pay your homeowner's insurance every year. This is the equivalent of maybe, 2 years of homeowner's insurance if you have to update it. So again, no excuse. There is no excuse for the vast majority of people not to get this done.
So let's talk a little bit about the difference between a will and a trust, and who should get what and why.
So, definitely interrupt me if we've got to go to break, because this is somewhat of a longer explanation here. But the big thing that I want people to understand is that there's lots of different types of trusts. The primary thing we're talking about is what's called a revocable living trust. You do not have to have a top hat and a monocle to have a revocable living trust. This is purely a function of the court process. A will still has to go through probate court. So that's takeaway number one. It still has to go through probate court. Probate has become a lot worse in Texas over the last couple of years, but it's still better than a lot of other states. But it can take a few months before you can get a hearing. Probating a will usually is going to run around $3,000, give or take. That's with a will uncontested, no issues. It's also a public record. So if people have privacy concerns or just don't want their business out there. So then you're like, why get a will at all? Well, because that's lightning fast and dirt cheap compared to no will. And the biggest takeaway, if you haven't gotten this yet, is the will is outlining your wishes, not the government's wishes for what happens for you. That's why you do a will. However, if you want to go a step above and beyond that, there are other options, but the most comprehensive option is this revocable living trust. It says all the same stuff the will says, okay? But what you do is you do a trust. Usually married couples can do one joint trust, or you're individual, you make yourself trustee. You can deed your home into it, bank accounts into it, beneficiaries of life insurance, retirement into it. You still control everything throughout your life, no difference there at all. But when you pass away, if everything's connected to this trust, there's no probate. So your trustee, not called your executor, but same job, they can immediately step in. So it speeds things up. And it can reduce, if in some cases not completely eliminate, any probate costs. And it's also private, because there's no probate court, there's no public record. So it also makes it harder to challenge. There is, I want everybody to hear this, a revocable living trust, there is no downside. No downside. It's not going to hurt you whatsoever. It's not like, yeah, but tax, yeah, but this. No. It's not going to do anything. The only reason people will go with a will versus a trust is trusts are typically a higher cost to set up. Now, they more than save themselves in the end if you like investments, but it's money now versus money later. And it's more work. Oh, man. You don't have to do anything with a will because you're kicking that can down the road. Your executor is going to have to do all of that. With the trust, you've got to be proactive, and a good firm or a great firm is going to, earn their money on telling you this is what you do. This is what you tell the bank. This is how you fill out forms. This is how you deed the home. We're going to take care of this for you. We're going to take care of that for you. So you've got more ongoing work. But if you're willing to invest a little bit more in this, if you're willing to do some of the work and make sure that you've got a firm that's got your back, that's going to guide you on what to do, this is going to be so much better for your family and loved ones.
That's interesting, because everybody says, oh, yeah, I got to go get a will when they do. And yet they could step it up and do a trust.
And we have those conversations with everybody. I mean, if you don't have a revocable living trust, the state of Texas has one for you. That just doesn't roll off the tongue the same way. So, usually a will is a way to get your foot in the door to have the conversation. And then that's, reason 101 to go to a qualified attorney to do this for you is you're going to have somebody walking you through these other factors. I mean, I've got an email in my inbox right now where I'm talking to a lady about, yes, your bank's telling you that, but that means it will go through probate. And her whole goal is to avoid probate. So I'm like, well, maybe you want to revisit this trust. I mean, I'm trying to force you into it. I'm just telling you, you say you want X. I'm telling you Y will get you X. So you need to decide whether you want to do Y.
Well, and it's, and it's who we choose to listen to, right? Like you said, a qualified attorney, a great firm that has your back, that will walk through all the steps for you, that, rather than the woman, I mean, and I love my banker, but she's not an attorney.
Right.
And I love lots of people, but they're not qualified to do the things maybe that I need them to do right then.
It's not a character flaw if they didn't go to one of the top law schools in the country, get licensed in 2 states, both first time taking bar exam, have 17 years of experience under their belt, including 15 hours of continuing legal education every year. If you catch my drift, it's not an insult to not take that advice from them.
Well, and again, I say it all the time, who you're in business with matters, and it's your personal business. And it's important to get all your ducks in a row and do the right things.
Yeah.
While you still can do the right things.
Right. And most everybody I have met with, almost every single appointment in all of these years, which is 5,000 plus clients, I believe at last count, they all feel so guilty. This is something that is weighing on them. Oh, we should have done this when our first child was born, or we've been meaning to do this, or talked to a lady yesterday. I'm in my 60s and I can't believe this is my first will that I'm doing ever. There's so much that hangs over people. And I don't think we account enough for the stress and strain that not having these things done really puts on people. And there's, reason 102 now to go to a professional is that you're going to have somebody walk you through the whole process.
Right.
You're going to have somebody that says,
Holding
do
your
this,
hand.
do that. We think big picture. We give people a document to put together, who to contact, where do you keep important paperwork, usernames, passwords, what's the alarm code at your house, what's this, what's that. Because it's not just about generating a legal document. I mean, you really can get that online. And the four corners of the document, hey, some of them are not that bad, but you're not going to get them signed properly. You're not going to fill them out correctly, but then you're not going to think about the big picture. You're not going to know. One thing we haven't gotten into, which we may or may not, but at least let me plant the seed, is how you designate beneficiaries on retirement, life insurance, or even your investment accounts. That's a whole nother ballgame that you need advice around.
Let's talk about that in the next segment. Okay, because
Sounds
I
great.
think that's really important too. We're going to take a short break with Lorie, and we'll be back to Relax I Got This, Crushing with Your Tribe on the OBBM network.
Still doing your own audio and video media?
If you're creating your own video series, TV, podcasts, and ad files, you're not focused on your business.
Your community needs you to keep being awesome, while professionals take care of audio and video details.
Bet you didn't know your show could have a studio audience with Q&A.
And applause.
Take your TV and podcast show to the next level. Focus on managing the business end of your inner celebrity.
Get over here to the OBBM Network studios at Grace Point Media in Farmers Branch.
Discover 3 state-of-the-art television studios.
2 podcast studios equipped for multiple participants and audience guests.
OBBM Network Studios at Grace Point Media is the highest level of set direction, audio-video production quality, network programming, and broadcasting for your business.
Your message could be in front of people you want to reach right here in DFW and beyond.
Call 214-714-0495 to talk through your ideas now. 214-714-0495. It's time to make media work for you.
Be the leader you know you can be. Build your professional network and access education that takes you where you want to go. We are women of all ages and backgrounds. You deserve national recognition and opportunities to build relationships with people you want to work and grow with. Hit the ground running with the Charisma chapter of the American Business Women's Association. Meetings each month from 6 to 8:30 p.m. on the 4th Tuesday in Farmers Branch, Texas, and online. Come with us. Experience ABWA for yourself. Go to charisma.abwa.org to learn more.
Welcome back to Relax I Got This, Crushing It with Your Tribe, where we share real talk about building business and life relationships. And we are here with Lorie Burch of Burch Law. We have been talking about wills. We've been talking about trusts. Now we're going to talk about beneficiaries. You mean that makes a difference?
Yeah. So, most adults have had something happen, whether it's either through HR department or insurance agent or even a financial advisor, where they're getting life insurance or they're getting benefits at the office and they've got to assign a beneficiary. Mm-hmm. That is going to override anything a will or trust says. So on one hand, it's a really great tool sometimes to kind of allocate things in a much simpler way, because you can update and change beneficiary forms all day long. But one of them, but there's a lot of mistakes in that as well. Particularly, as you know, my bread and butter are parents with young kids. Mm-hmm. And so the last thing you want to do is name a minor child as a beneficiary, because you're guaranteeing that that's going to get hung up in a court, and a court's going to have to determine who will get it. And then at age 18, it's given to them. That is, even if you have a will, even if you have a trust. So reason 5,402 why you should not do this stuff online, particularly if you're a parent, is there's nobody telling you, okay, but how's your life insurance set up? How's your retirement set up? Because if you like, oh, I went to legaldoom.com and I made sure my 4-year-old is going to have a trust and until they're age 25 and my sister's going to oversee it. And I'm such a great parent. Click, print. Oh, I actually managed to get this signed correctly. Great. And then I go into my HR department. I'm like, oh, just put little Susie Q as my beneficiary. Guess what? Life insurance company is not going to care a lick that you have a will that has a trust set up for your child in it, because they're going to say, you just named her directly. So, well, you need to get a court to determine who this goes to. They give the money to the court registry, not the highest rate of return, FYI. And then at 18, it's given to them. So, going and I hate to say that not every attorney is going to help you with this. That's why you got to be really careful with what kind of attorney you're going to go to. Bargain basement ends up biting you in the long run, because what we do and firms like ours do is we make sure that we help you fill out those beneficiary forms so you do connect those things. So in that example I gave you, the solution is to make the trust in your will the beneficiary. But those are all things that we look at that you've got to be thinking about how you're setting up.
Well, and and nobody thinks of any of this. They don't.
Well, I mean, I do.
Well, you do. That's why who you're in business with matters. So, as we kind of wrap some of this up, there was something, and I'm not escaping me. There was something that you said you wanted to kind of get out there. Now it's escaping me. So let me ask you this.
There's so much.
I know.
So much.
So if there was one thing that we didn't talk about, and I didn't ask you a question about, what would it be? That
I mean, we've covered a lot of ground, especially if you've listened to both. But I think it may have been how to find a qualified attorney.
There you go. What questions should one ask? What should we ask?
Yeah. So number one, make sure and find out how much of estate planning is part of their practice. Jack of all trades, master of none. You do not want to go to a firm that just dabbles in this stuff. I would say it should at least be over 50% of their practice. Otherwise, they don't know what they're doing. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. Number two, make sure it's a firm that also does probate. Because if you don't know how this stuff gets interpreted, if you don't know how this stuff pans out, you have no business drafting the documents in the first place. I have become such a better drafter of wills through being a probate attorney. The other thing, and we've kind of alluded to this, is ask them if they will help you with your beneficiaries. How much outside the box, how much big picture do you help with? Do I just fill out some information for you, you generate it and I sign it and I don't have any sort of guidance? And then I'd also ask about signing, getting it signed. Does your firm help us get this signed? What does that look like? What is your average turnaround time from the point that we hired you to the point that we get drafts to the point that we get this signed? These are all, I could go on, but those are some real key ones that I would encourage everybody, no matter who you are, what state you're in, to be looking for when you are finding a qualified firm to do this planning for you.
And I think, and a lot of, if you don't have a good quality referral, if somebody that you know and trust doesn't give you the Lorie Burch and the Burch Law Firm, you just have to go to the Google and start searching, right? And the people that pay for the ads are probably not necessarily the ones that you want to call. I wouldn't. I don't know. I would just say, or at least ask them those questions. Don't assume that because they're
those questions
that they're at the top of the Google, doesn't mean that they're the best.
Yeah, and don't let your first question be how much is it going to cost, because these other things are so much more important. Because I've told people, and this is me, it's not everybody, but I love spending money. I hate wasting money. Okay.
Yeah.
So, this is something that you don't want to find bargain basement, because I will stake my reputation on this. It will always end up costing more.
Yes. I have, we talk about, my whole show is about, your tribe, and you build your tribe and you build your team, whether it's in business or in personal life. And so you have a team to keep all your stuff in line. You have a CPA to make sure that the IRS doesn't get any more than they deserve. You have an attorney to make sure the state of Texas doesn't get any more than they deserve. You have financial planners that are investing your money. So let's be smart about this, and let's make sure that we are doing our due diligence, that we leave a legacy for our families, for our whoever that is, whoever it is that we consider family, our children, our spouses, our parents. We never know when our number's up. And do you want to make it even harder for them?
Right.
Than they're already going through? And my guess is no.
Exactly. I tell people that the time is always now.
Yeah.
That I don't know how much time you have left, but the fact of the matter is every day is one day less you have to have a plan in place.
Well, and it's that whole, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. Second best time is right now. And
Love it. Perfect.
So I think we're going to, I can't believe we're already done again, wrapping this up. So, so I want to encourage everyone, if you have questions, concerns, go to birchlaw.com. Is it Birch Law or Birch-Law?
It's Birch-Law, BURCH-Law, or CYATexasWills.com.
I like that one better, but that's just me. But read up on Lorie, read her blogs that she has there. There is more information, and we joke, but don't mistake her law degree for your Google search. That's all I'm going to say.
Unless you're Googling me.
Unless you're Googling Lorie, and then follow that. So, thank you so much for spending this time with me. I got on this soapbox about 6 months ago, and I'm still on it. And I appreciate you helping me propel it out there just a little bit, because I've just seen too much in the last 6 months in my little corner of the world. I can't imagine what a day in the life of Lorie Burch, a state attorney, probate attorney, might look like.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, keep it up. It's helping.
Okay. Well, thank you again for joining me. As a Texas realtor, I have the unique opportunity to meet great people in a wide range of industries. If I can help you with any of your real estate needs, or if you need the services of those in my tribe, make sure you reach out. Check out all the show notes for information and contact information for Lorie. Who you're in business with matters. Thanks so much for dropping in. Come back again and hear us on Relax, I Got This, Crushing It with Your Tribe.
You've been listening to the Relax, I Got This podcast with Robin McCoy. To become a member of Robin's tribe or find out about guest and sponsor opportunities, call 214-226-3770. For DFW home sales information, go to robinmccoyrealty.com. Relax, I Got This, Crushing It with Your Tribe is produced for the OBBM network and available wherever you're listening to podcasts. Unauthorized use of the Relax, I Got This podcast or the OBBM network podcast brands are strictly prohibited. Call 214-714-0495 for permission requests and program information.